All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Denise. I am co-founder of Freedom Angels, and you are going to join us for a discussion on what we can do in California to protect our children.
Hello, I am Tara, also co-founder of Freedom Angels, and thank you for joining us today. We'll discuss what's going on, particularly around our kids in school. LAUSD and Culver City school districts have both just issued mandates recently around requiring the COVID-19 vaccine for kids 12 and over, anyone that is deemed eligible. So we got a lot to talk about there around their abuse of authority and what you can do about it.
Absolutely. So please share this video with your friends. You can register your email at freedom-angels.org. Our information is incredibly censored. So today we're going to go through what exactly the school boards can and cannot do. We're going to talk about SB 277 language amendments, and we're also going to go over 504 plans and the codes that your children are not going to be suspended, and if they follow the laws. So thankfully, we have someone here, Tara, who did work within 277 and does understand the way the amendments work. So we have a lot of information. Please grab a pen and paper and let's get started. Tara, you want to go ahead and start?
Yeah, and I also want to add, one of the most important things you'll ever hear Denise and I say or do is to get connected locally with people in your community. It's from the ground up that we connect, that we build, that we create a new way forward, and that we create the world we want for our kids. So in this chat, please use this chat as a find your tribe. We've got incredible people from different groups here that run local groups in the Southern California area. If you run a group in any area, please connect, find each other, drop your group links, and make sure if you're on here that you're looking to meet people. Use the chat as a find your tribe. Really important.
Absolutely. Okay. All right,
yeah.
Let's get into the meat of it.
Yes. So just for those who don't know, LAUSD, that's Los Angeles Unified School District, is the second largest school district in the nation. There's 600,000 children. They just, the school board unanimously decided to mandate the COVID-19 shot for children 12 and over, anyone, quote, eligible. You know, that will also be extended to every age once they're, quote, eligible. This is an overreach of their authority. The school board does not have the authority to do that. Neither does the superintendent of schools for the district. Culver City, California, Culver City School Unified School District did the same thing about a week ago. They've already received a cease and desist letter from the attorney for CHD California, which is really the basis of the stuff that we're going to talk about here. So in 2015, the legislation, the bill SB 277 removed the personal belief exemption for childhood vaccinations in California. And part of the process of the battle against that legislation led to a bunch of different amendments. One of them included an exemption for children on IEPs and 504s. That still stands. Use that. You have the ability to use that. And there are groups and people that will help you fight and navigate that process. Still use that. There was also something that we called number 11. Number 11, there was 10 different vaccines that were on the schedule as of 2015 for mandated for school. That one of the number 11 gave the authority to the California Department of Public Health to add through order or regulation on any other vaccines that they might deem that they want to add to the schedule for childhood school participation in California. This includes private and public daycare, preschool, K through 12. And but included in that number 11, they were California Department of Public Health was granted the authority to add something to the schedule, but they also required in that, and this is section 3 of this, that they had to provide a personal belief exemption if they went that route. The only other route for a vaccine to be added to the schedule is through the legislative channels. The legislative channels are theoretically the channels that the people, we the voters, have our voice heard through. As you know, they don't listen. Again, this is why it's important to push back at the local level, particularly with your state district reps and in your local boards of authority. But what this means is unless the COVID-19 vaccine, and I'm gonna add this to say, This applies for anything beyond the 10 vaccines that are listed in the text of the bill SB 277 from 2015. So this means that if anyone tries to tell you there's a flu shot requirement, if there's an HPV shot requirement, or what we're up against now, the COVID-19 shot requirement, their only way those can be brought forward in a mandate is through the legislative process, which has not happened on any of those yet, because honestly, the legislators don't want to take responsibility for that. And, they should be careful. That's a stain they're going to have to carry for their life if they choose to do that. This is very controversial. Or through CDPH, California Department of Public Health. If it goes CDPH, there is a personal belief exemption. So the gray area we get in here is with the school boards and the superintendents of school. They have stepped outside their bounds of authority to say that they can mandate this. They literally do not. And we will tell you that they, just like a doctor will not tell you there's pathways that you have the right to choose not to, the schools will not tell you either. And here they are forcing people, as we like to say, a game of chicken, right, Denise? Or a game of challenge. They're forcing parents to have to challenge them back. Unfortunately, most parents won't know that. This is why it's so important that you're here learning this information and that you network and connect and share this information with others. Because again, one, they don't have the authority. Two, they have the responsibility now to inform people that they don't have the proper channels of requiring or mandating this. And, I want to say it's really important to know this. Legislative processes, they take a while. I mean, they have this window where they can do gut and amends, which we're just out of after today in California, that they can move things through quickly. But generally, they take a bit of a process, and they take a process to unwind. But any policy, regulation, order, anything like that, those things can be changed quickly, whether it's your private business or a school board. They make a decision one day, they can turn around and make a new decision the next day. So just remember that also. These things aren't set in stone. They're pushing and challenging people. Denise, do you want to jump in on that real quick before we go to the...
Yeah, let's talk about that. A lot of people think that there's a silver bullet to all of this, right? You're going to download a piece of paper, you're going to fill it out, and you're going to give it back to them, and it's going to be accepted. They're going to fight you every step of the way. So be prepared for that. It is important. This is why we have Meet Your Local Tribe, to do it collectively and to do it together. Go online and grab the text of the bill and understand what it says. It's the second paragraph. Understand that it says that it does provide this personal belief exemption. And if anybody has the link to Children's Health Defense cease and desist letter, please put it in the comments for us, and then we will share that in our platforms. But this is where we need to stop being so complacent, where we have to understand we are the people in power at this point. They've just made us feel and made us believe that the whole process is very confusing and that we don't have a say in what's going on. So you gather together with your locals, get together with other parents, and do this collectively, because they can tell one person no, but it's very difficult to turn away an entire group. So, and this is where, again, I'm glad to see in the chat channels, put your county, your email address, and start connecting and start really thinking about how you're going to push forward in your local government.
Yeah, there's a lot of groups right now, especially down in the, they're popping up. There's established ones and there's new ones forming, and let it, like, as you collectivize, even if it's a group of 10, 12 families that know each other and are in a school, start to connect. Start it yourself. I mean, if you don't have one to connect to, just literally call a meet and greet at the park around it, and then reach out and connect those pods of parents and families to the other groups that are established so that everyone can weave together as a network. It's really important. So the great thing is that we've got a really strong challenge back. They don't have the authority to do this. So they've received a cease and desist letter in Culver City Unified School District. I'm sure there's one coming for LAUSD. I'm sure there's lawsuits on the horizon if they don't remove these mandates and inform parents properly around their rights to refuse this. They absolutely have a right to refuse this. And, you know, the challenge is really a strong one for us, but they're going to keep it looking like they're going to try to pretend they have the authority. One of the things that, besides meeting and organizing with local people, if you go back to when we founded Freedom Angels in 2019 and we occupied the California Capitol for 11 days in resistance, and then again, when we were in New Jersey, helping protect the religious exemption there, what's required are feats of sacrifice and endurance. This means that as you network together, when you're coming up with your strategies of engagement around emails, around going to meetings, around protests, around phone calls, and lawsuits and letters. Also think about how you can sustain a spotlight on the violations that they're doing and how you can help other people find you that want to stand alongside you for their children or grandchildren in these school districts. So that means, like, if the idea is to have a peaceful protest outside of a school board or even a school, if, you know, in the ways that is that people feel comfortable, whether it's marching children peacefully through schoolroom doors, or picketing, or whatever version of organizing and peaceful resistance tactics you're considering, along with these other ones of these spotlighting and media and cease and desist and lawsuits and such, need to think about it in a sustained manner. One day is not going to do enough. So think about, if you start to hold the space, this is what we did in 2019. We called for the space and we held that space. What you can do is start to say, we've got 20 parents that are going to be here, and we're going to rotate another shift of another 100 parents tomorrow, and then keep calling out for shifts of people to take. And even if you're just doing it in a 2-hour block of time, you want to show that you are going to relentlessly be standing against this violation, that you will not allow this for your children, and that you're going to stand peacefully together. But it's going to require that kind of mindset and that kind of peaceful organizing tactics. So, if you did not see it a couple days ago in Michigan around the mask issue, a good lot of maybe 25 children with their parents standing behind them, they marched through the schoolroom doors. They had the sheriff outside. They had the principals, vice principal, I believe, blocking the door. This is reminiscent of George Wallace blocking desegregation. He was the governor of Alabama, blocking desegregation in the South back during the civil rights movement days. And what happens, the parents stood behind and the kids held the ground, and they kept talking politely, and they said, we are going in and you can't touch us. We're going to actually talk about California Ed Code that is particularly advantageous for Californians around protecting your right to be in there against the actions of, or what the authority of some of the teachers or principals might say. So know that this peaceful resistance looks like California. This is literally, our children right now can save humanity. They can turn this around. And if we're there as the adults in their life, and you don't even have to be the parent, you can be a grandparent, you can be an aunt, you can be an educator, you can be a community member, standing there in support, especially as the 12 and olders are hold the line to walk in with us backing them around the lack of authority for them to be excluded. Janice, do you want to talk about California Ed Code 48900?
No, I want to go back and talk about what the resistance actually does look like. Yeah. So those children in Michigan showed us how to do it. Yep. Yes, we need the attorney's piece. Yes, we need every single piece that we're doing, but we are in triage mode at this point. Schools are really moving forward on these children really quickly. I receive emails after emails of parents saying that their children's school looks like a prison. We have the power to change that. You march your children into school and you don't comply. You pull your children out and you strike. These are what Tara was talking about. This is constant. This is endurance. This is really a chess game. And showing up one time isn't going to do it. And this is where the piece of taking shifts, this is where you meet your tribe and you connect with each other. So that way you can take shifts in front of the schools or in front of your BOS or any place that you feel that needs to have that pressure. This is your inner Cesar Chavez moment, where he really knew the power of boycott, he knew the power of strike, long-term strike, and he knew the power of being in the streets. We no longer have the time that we thought we did. So please start talking to your older children, make them feel comfortable knowing that they can resist and there's nothing to be ashamed of on this. Our middle school, high school children are really going to be the ones to move the needle on this. So yes, let's talk about California Ed Code section 48900. This came about for equity, right? When they originally started this, it was because the state said that too many children of color were being suspended from school for no good reason. So they created this education code, which says that children K through 8 cannot be suspended for defiance. It also states that children in high school cannot be expelled for defiance. So at the end of the day, if you have your children walking through school, the school teachers, principal, security cannot touch your children. They cannot forcefully remove your children. And California code states that they cannot be suspended. These are all tools that are available to us to use. We need to know them and we need to utilize them and articulate them properly. This goes along with the 504 plan that Tara is going to talk about. All of these things can be used together. So that way we can really put pressure on the most weakest link of this game is the school piece. They are the weakest. They are terrified of lawsuits. They don't have a lot of money to deal with them. So let's, if you want to continue on that, or you want to jump right into the 504s?
Well, yeah, and actually I want to add one more thing about Cesar Chavez. When people asked him, like, how do you organize? Besides all the pieces that Denise talked about, he said, you talk to people. And that means you build relationships. You do it on the ground in the real world. That is fundamental to this. So again, we get to use social media and connecting like this to do that. So, we talked about the Ed Code 48900, talked about that they have no authority to put these mandates in. So literally, the cease and desist letter from CHD California already exists for Culver City. It's the same thing for LAUSD. One of the main things you can do besides organizing with local people is get and spread that letter all around. It very clearly outlines that they do not have the authority. And honestly, that it's, in my view, our view, it's criminal that they're attempting this and they're confusing parents and such. And so again, they have the responsibility to provide informed consent. We know how that goes. So that's going to be on us. We need to spread that far and wide so people know, and share this as well. And people can continue to find each other in these chats. We'll have this up on our YouTube. So we're going to do an in-depth Zoom next week. We'll do a Freedom Angel Zooms on the 504 process. This is around mask mandates. Now, we're going to bring it up because this applies across the nation, even in states like Florida. It applies everywhere. And it's important because even though the triage might be dealing in LAUSD right now around the vaccine mandate, this for the kids, this is still, they're all tied together, and you fight the pieces that you have ways to make inroads with. And then as you organize around there and you're starting to identify the players, you're starting to identify and pull together the people that are going to stand with you and protect human and civil rights, you are also identifying who are the players that you're essentially opposing, and how to move them into a position where you essentially can and get them to change policy because they have no other choice, because you're not accepting their terms and you're fighting them on them. So 504 is around masks. One of the important things we'll be talking about in this process is not only how to do the 504 process, but also because it goes through filing a 504 for your child. If your child in any way is not able to concentrate, to focus as well, emotionally not handling well the masking, then there is a pathway for them through through breathing and respiration as an as essential function and ability, that you can request a 504 meeting for them, which would allow for a allow for a reasonable accommodation for them. And the school has to enter into this process. Once you trigger a 504 meeting, this is very serious. It's just like the California Ed Code 48900. It's very serious. They do not have the ability to suspend or expel, depending on the situation, your children, just like they do not have the ability to ignore your request for a 504. There is a lot of channels that they are very, very familiar with, and they will be very uncomfortable if they start to see you fighting back and requesting to protect your child's health and well-being and their ability to function in school, a 504 meeting. So once you get request a 504 meeting, we're going to line you out not only with a paper on how to do it, but we'll talk you through it. We'll have step-by-step guide for how to do it. Don't worry about having, data and science. You know how they play that game. They're just going to try to battle you with one thing, one set against another. This isn't about that. This is about your child and your child's ability to properly think, focus, and mentally be present and able to function in school. That is not something they can come at you with data or their bought or manipulated data or science against. If they deny you an accommodate, they have to provide some type of a reasonable accommodation while you're in the 504 process. Just like if your child was getting a 504 for a peanut allergy, while you're waiting for that 504 meeting and going through that process, they can't just have your child surrounded with 504s everywhere. You've put them on notice. You've already told them there's a problem. They now know there's a problem, and they are required by law to do something about it. If they, and also this is the same thing with Culver City and LAUSD. Once you put them on notice, like the cease and desist letter from CHD California attorney Jessica Barsotti, and just like as you can even take that right now to them in LAUSD, and I would say take it everywhere. Take it to every teacher, every administrator, every school. You plaster it to every school board, everything. You plaster it everywhere, because once they have that information, they can't say that they didn't know. That's the power of putting someone on notice. Once the idea of culpability and liability is, what did you know and when did you know it? So for the 504, if they have to provide a reasonable accommodation, it could be something that you negotiate with them around hand washing. Perhaps you'll do some extra hand washing for your child who will not be wearing a mask in school to meet their needs. If they reject, after you get through that first process of a meeting, if they deny your request for a 504, you have the right to a second 504 meeting, and you can have outside counsel come in and you can cross-examine them. This is kind of a meeting where they would bring in like an arbitrator from outside, and you have the right to essentially bring someone there too. One of the things we'll be talking about is the FOIA process, the Public Records Request tool here. This is a very powerful tool, and we're going to be teaching it in the context of the 504 process, but know that when we're teaching it, it's actually something that you can do anywhere, like any public record, any form of public body. You can use this tool to advance your strategies and bring people into a position of reason, or prevent the violations that are going on. So if you get, once you're in that process, we have we'll be teaching on how to do the public records requests around your child's 504 meeting. So yes, schools, we will have these parents that will be doing this will also be getting records requests around all the conversations you're having around their child and their requests. So you better know that. And it's don't worry, this isn't leaking any strategic information. It's more important for everyone to know they're being watched, they're going to be held accountable, and that we all learn the power of the Public Records Request and Freedom of Information Act tools. If those are denied, you then have remedy to go to the state and the federal office of civil rights and file a civil rights complaint and or a civil rights lawsuit. And again, so the other thing about this is if you're doing this not on an IAP, but on a 504, you actually can go after punitive damages too, and not just damages around covering, the cost of, covering the access to education. Not just that, you can actually go after punitive damages, which is a whole nother ball of wax. Denise?
Yeah, no, I think we're at our 30 minutes now. So we're going to wrap it up. We're keeping our videos at less than 30 minutes. Please share it. You can register your email at freedom-angels.org, and there we will get a blast email on when we will have another webinar discussing the 504s and what else you can do to resist. So,
and private domain. We're big on private domain too. So, connect with us and watch our videos on how to build out a whole new way outside of the system. Even if you're doing that, you still need to participate. We all need to participate in pushing back as well.
Yeah, our YouTube channel is Freedom Angels 2.0. And thank you so much for listening today. Please share the information so we can take our schools back. Have a great day.
Thanks.